What's up, fam, and welcome to episode 18. Yes, you see that somebody is missing, but Gianna has joined the other side of the camera, and she is so excited to join today. Lou has been gone for the past couple of weeks for work, but he will be home today. Today is the 4th of July.
Happy 4th.
Happy Independence Day, America.
Yeah. So, what are we talking about today?
No, I don't know. What are we talking about?
We're talking about...
Why are you gonna make it weird? Today we're talking about, I know that
Inside Out.
Yeah, it's been a big topic. It's funny because I had some ladies over to my house last week for a little bit of fellowship time, and we kind of talked about this movie. And so it sparked my interest in wanting to watch the first one because I wanted to see where the connection was at. And if you've noticed, Gianna and I are wearing she's wearing orange or her burnt orange, and I'm wearing yellow because when I asked her like who her favorite character was,
Or the one you resonated with.
Okay.
Because I feel like that was more of my answer then, which was anxiety. Which is sad, but I mean, it's not a shocking thing for me.
Okay, well, I mean, I think we'll talk a little bit more in depth about that, but let's start with episode 1. So I'm wearing yellow because
you mean not
sorry.
episode. Movie one.
I'm too much into podcast mode, but I'm wearing yellow because I really love Joy. I feel like she's, aside from Riley, she is main character.
Yeah, yeah. In both of the movies, she was kind of the main character.
Why?
I don't know. Do you have the answer to that?
I think I do.
Okay, what's the answer?
Well, let me look at my notes. Because first of all, when I was watching the first episode, I just noticed that in both movies, what happened when there was an absence of joy?
She was, I don't know like how to describe it, but she was not happy because there's no joy.
No, I'm saying for like what was going on when Joy was not physically in the midst of whatever they were doing?
Chaos.
There was chaos. So that's very telling in saying that when there's an absence of joy in your life, there is chaos.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff going on. So it's something that, and I love that, Joy in the beginning of every movie had this, almost like unrealistic outlook on life. Mm-hmm. And on what was going on. And then as both movies kind of went on, she came to some sort of realization that, it wasn't really about her, but that when partnered with all these other emotions, it really does work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the first movie, you see the orbs, and they're all connected to joy. There's one or two that are disgust, that are fear.
Excuse me, those are not orbs. Those are core memories.
No, mommy. The core memories are the ones that are in the middle that pop up.
Okay, but all the other ones are memories too.
Yeah, they're memories, but they're orbs. They're shaped of orbs. Am I wrong?
Okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm. But most of them are joy at the beginning, and then after the whole spiel happens, they're mixed together. Yeah. So it's a little bit about life. Well, I also think it's also because when you're a kid, there's no other emotions that you kind of feel. Like I don't remember feeling anxious until I got into my teens. I don't remember really anything until I got into my teens. But it's very, it's what's the word? Telling? To like how you grow up because you develop more emotions, which it was kind of seen in the first movie where she was kind of like, first there was joy And then there was disgust, and then there was fear, and then there was sadness was second, because it was like sadness and joy were connected, but she didn't want to be connected. That was kind of the whole point, where she didn't want to associate herself with sadness. So,
Well, because in her eyes, sadness always caused trouble.
Yeah.
Right? Because even when we were watching it, I was like, man, will she just stop touching things already? But then after a while, I got it. Like,
Yeah.
there was reason for her to be part of that whole equation, because notice when Riley, when she didn't make the winning shot for her hockey team, they showed that she was sad with her parents, but then
they saw
joy,
she was sad, and then that's what brought the joy, because everyone else.
and that's what brought me to Psalms 35. And it says, for his anger is but for a moment, and his favor is for a lifetime. Weeping may tarry for a night, but joy comes with the morning. In other words, things are going to happen. In this world, we're going to face disappointments, right? We're going to face things that are going to make us sad, but it's what we do with that sadness. Because again, I think we've talked about this in past, maybe even in the episode where we talked about, depression and anxiety, is when you sit in that, that's where it can become dangerous. But in this case, they showed a great example of, the parents coming alongside her and, understanding that those disappointments are real. But then you see the team, and now the team is reassuring her that although it stinks, right? They didn't win the game. The reality is we're still with you. I'm still with you. And that's kind of how God handles each and every one of us, I believe. Yeah. Why do you feel like you resonated with anxiety so much getting into movie 2?
Well, I think it was more because of so I saw this video where it was showing like the lines that, not therapists, but yeah, kind of like therapists, and they saw was like really that connected with a lot of like human emotions. Well, obviously it's about human emotions, but it was really like I'm trying to think of the word, but I can't think of the word. It's like accurate. It was very accurate to how anxiety feels. And like, when she says that, because there's fear and anxiety are like, you would think that they're one and the same, but anxiety is like, when she said she's planning for the future, and fear is just a moment where you can see it and you're fearful of that. Anxiety is when you're planning for the future and all the outcomes seem to be bad. That's when anxiety starts kicking in. And I've noticed that every time things happen, that's how I feel. Like those type of things, like everything that leads up to the moment, I'm thinking of all the bad things that are going to happen, which was kind of like the part where, where they're writing down the like all the situations and
where they're anxiety. In the room and anxiety is telling them, okay, give me something.
Yeah. And then Joy, she's the first one to think of a good thing to happen.
Right.
And that's when anxiety is like, no, this is not how that's supposed to go. We're supposed to know all the bad things that are supposed to happen. And that's when Joy starts interfering with anxiety's plans of, of those type of things. I think I had a verse that was, I don't know why I don't have it open.
That's so crazy how the mind works though, like, and how we are, as a people kind of conditioned to think that way as we get older. Like we have to think about all the things that could quite possibly happen, but yet may not even happen at all. So now we just waste all that time sitting in that tension and nothing really comes out of it.
Yep. Well, this verse actually reminded me of the end part. When anxiety is doing her thing and she's going back and forth on the council and she's like panicking because she's literally in a panic attack. The part where Joy steps in and was like, you have to let her go. I thought, this was one of the scriptures that I found when I was it was Psalms 94:19. When anxiety was great within me, consolation brought me joy. So kind of like, well, this was also like a huge thing on TikTok where it was like, this is Jesus or whatever when they were like, hallelujah in the theaters. This was like this is like Joy trying to be Jesus or whatever they were thinking. But it was like the minute Joy stepped in, that's when anxiety thought to let go. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That just was like the most.
I wanna give the definition of consolation because you seemed like you were like, what is this word in here?
I just didn't know how to say it, if I'm being honest with you.
Okay, so then what's the definition of it?
Well, like consoling, like you're helping, you're providing.
The action or process of formally consulting or discussing.
Yeah.
So, the Bible tells us that in the beginning was the Word and the Word was God. And so I believe that even in that situation there, it's almost like saying, that in the heavenly realms, God is consulting about you, right? Like God is discussing. And, I believe that, if we talk about the fact that, in Jeremiah where, I have plans for you to prosper, that God is always for us in those situations, right? Like, although we have plans and plans may not always go our way, but yet we're thinking the worst or we're headed into, we can have peace in knowing that if God's word is truth, then we can always know that he's fighting for us, right? The Father, the Son, this is a Lizism. I always say this too. This is a Lizism. I feel like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are in the war room and they're consulting about us. They're making plans about us in this room, in that here on earth, we're going to have so many things that are going to distract us into thinking what could be. But in reality, we look back and we go, man, that was amazing. Like it was nothing like I even planned in my mind. And I think it's fitting that even in that moment where, Joy was like, you have to let her go. And even anxiety got like kind of an epiphany at that moment and was like, oh yeah, this is getting to be too much. Maybe I should listen in this moment. And things started to fall into place. I mean, I think that's very telling for us, right? When we let go of these thoughts that are not even supposed to be there, because the word tells us that you got to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. When we take those thoughts captive and we question those things and say, okay, God, why are those things here? Like, I just even want to think about you for a second. 2 years ago, you were saying, there's no way, no how, I'm not going to masters. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And then all of a sudden, your plans have changed. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like it wasn't a hard decision for you to make. Like you weren't tussling about it. You weren't, nervous about it. You were very, and it seemed like since the conference, you were very like confident in your decision. Why do you think that was?
I think it's a mixture of two things. One, I think I was ready for a change, and I was put in this trial where I feel like before then, like God was kind of like putting me in a position where I had to make the decision, like you either follow me or you don't. And because of the way that my life was going prior, I felt like I wasn't, there wasn't any like fulfillment in my life. Mm-hmm. And my friends were all gone and things were happening. And, I was kind of like on my own, like completely with like school and everything. Socially.
Yeah.
And just, I like in school, like though I was going and I was learning things and I was doing things, I just didn't feel, fulfilled. It's not what I wanted.
You just felt like you were going through the motions.
Yeah, it was just not. And so I feel like in the conference, it was kind of like, oh, like there's potential here. Like I can do something that I'm gonna enjoy, and I'm gonna be with people, and that are going to push me to do more. And so I feel like that was just, it wasn't like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. It was just more like, I have to.
Yeah.
So I think that's what kind of was, you know, going through my head when all of it was happening. It wasn't like,
Well, do you think that like even in the moment where you came to the realization like, okay, this is the direction that I'm going to go in, that you felt a sense of peace in that though too?
yeah, I think so. I think it was a very, well, I think it was peace, but also excitement, because I knew that when it comes to when it came to like what I was doing prior, it was like boring.
Yeah.
So I think that it was like more of excitement that I could do something that I'm actually going to enjoy and that's going to make me happy. So,
That's good.
yeah.
You said boring. How did you feel the character and Inside Out? Like,
Ennui.
yeah, like,
I didn't get it, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. Because boredom to me is like, it's like a feeling of like not feeling anything. So boredom being there was a little confusing because every time that they hit the council, which they had on their phone, so it was like, I get it, they're too lazy to get up, but that was more like laziness than boredom. But it was just, it didn't make sense to me because it was like every time that they touched the council, Riley was trying to act cool instead of like, it was like boredom. It was more like she was trying to act cool. It just the character didn't make sense to me. So I didn't.
I also thought that like, because there was a part in there where like, where I think Sadness stole Boredom's phone.
Yeah.
And she was kind of dictating what was happening through his phone, right? And how he got so...
Remember, it's a girl.
Oh, oops.
It's fine.
Okay, how Boredom got so, like, cray-cray when they couldn't find their phone.
Yeah.
Like, how true was that? A lot of us act that way and we feel lost without our phone. And our phone is kind of like the thing that almost ignites some of our boredom, to be honest with you, because we got to keep switching to something else in order for us to, I don't know, like, I think that there was some truth to all of that, but it still left me with a little bit of a question mark.
Yeah. I think all of the other characters, like embarrassment.
I love embarrassment. I would be wearing pink today if my favorite character is Joy, but I would definitely be wearing pink today because I loved embarrassment. Now, I don't love to be embarrassed. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But that was such a cute character.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would say that my second character would be embarrassment.
And embarrassment, to me, just gave off Bing Bong vibes. Only because he was like big. Okay, and yeah. That kind of thing.
But not like character wise.
No.
They're two different characters.
But let's talk about that for a second.
Bing Bong?
Yeah. On how when I watched the first movie, I cried.
When Bing Bong died.
Well, he didn't. I want to say that he went to heaven.
Well, they're not real. It's emotions and imaginary characters. So, no, he was gone. He's gone. He just disappeared.
Okay, well, whatever. But he was a very sweet character.
Yeah.
So, and I just loved how he was for Riley. He wanted her he wanted her to have it all, and in doing that, he sacrificed himself for Joy to get herself up there, and that made me cry. It made me cry because it was very like,
Yeah, I cried the first time too anyway, so.
Yeah, I mean, I never had an imaginary friend.
I didn't either.
But Jesus is our friend and we cannot see him.
That doesn't make him imaginary, Mom.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't make him imaginary, but we cannot see him, but we know he's there.
Right.
And he brings us comfort and he brings us joy, and that's exactly what Bing Bong did. And so it made me a little weepy, and he sacrificed himself for us. So I think that's why I got a little emotional, but I do want to touch on why you got so emotional in movie 2. Because I mean, if I can tell y'all, watching this movie, I did not get emotional. But when I looked over to glance at Gianna a couple times, she had a big flannel on too, so like she was hiding things. And I had to look at her, and she was like using that flannel sleeve. Are you
I'm
crying
like
now?
crying now. Yeah, because it was like, I don't know why I'm crying. Wait, I gotta cut this out. This is really embarrassing.
You don't have to be embarrassed when you're showing true emotion.
I did my makeup today too.
And she's worried about her makeup.
I think it was more just like a lot of the lines in there were really accurate to like anxiety and how I feel a lot of the times. Like when Riley was having her panic attack. I don't think I've ever had like a true panic attack, but I know that feeling when your mind is racing and emotions are all over the place, and especially anxiety, it becomes a big flare up. And so, seeing that happen, and then like, the different things where, when I don't remember the part. I think when Joy was talking to anxiety, and then also when I don't know like the specific parts, but there was just a bunch of parts where I was like, wow, that's really telling to how I feel. And so I just connected a lot more with the second movie than I did with the first movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I got so emotional, because it's really how a teenager feels when she's growing up, especially, with moving so much, which Riley, her friends were leaving her. And a lot of that time that happens when you move and when you go to different, cities or whatever, a lot of things that were changing in Riley's life, I could relate to.
Yeah. I never really thought about that, because you did change cities a lot. We did move a lot. You changed a lot of schools. You didn't really, like for me, and I mean, I'm about to celebrate my 25th high school reunion this year in October, and we were having conversations, like even going back and forth with planning, and just talking about things of the past, and I came to the realization, like, wow, some of these people I started in kindergarten with, and then graduated all the way through high school, and you didn't have that luxury. Like your childhood was very choppy from the beginning. Like you went to, a kindergarten, then you transitioned to a different one. And then so I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see how that was.
I think that was like why I was so weepy. I mean, I asked Matthew and he was just as weepy as I was.
Was he?
So it's not like it wasn't, I think it's just a generation thing.
Yeah.
I think that because of this is like what we've been saying for like ever. We've been exposed to things way different than you guys were. We're just a different, with phones and with different type of
technology. I get all that. I get that technology has done. I think, and I'll say it. I'm free to say it. I think technology has done a lot of damage to our youth.
Yeah, I believe that.
I agree. Growing up as a teen in the 90s when we didn't have internet or people, cyberbullying, or we just bullied in school.
Yeah.
And that was just the norm. But I get it. I get how things and anxiety and stuff like that is so much more heightened because of the things that you were exposed to. And then of course I know that COVID didn't help much, because that also kind of, got this whole world in a weird frenzy. But I think for children it was even more difficult, because now you had to like stay confined into a certain space, and really all you had was technology to kind of get
Yeah.
you through, right? So I get all that. I didn't want to bring that up to embarrass you in any way, but I think that, our followers should see this, especially the people who are parents should see that these types of things do affect our kids. But I think one of the things that you and I talked about as we were driving home is, I don't know that anxiety, sadness, anger. I don't know that it's accurate to say that all these things can just be prayed away and they
Yeah.
just go away. What I think the movie did a good job at was partnering all of these things together. Joy partnering with sadness, joy partnering with anxiety, joy partnering with boredom. Like, joy always had the position in partnering with all of these emotions to make them make sense. Without joy, we said earlier, without joy, there was absolute chaos. But with joy, there's always something to remind you that even when you're in the midst of anxiety, there's always something to remind you that, okay, this is just temporary.
Yeah.
This is not what it is. And the movie, like you said, did a good job at explaining the difference between fear. Fear is what's happening and what you can see. Anxiety
Is planning for the next.
is planning for what might not even happen.
Yeah.
So knowing and partnering with God in all of those things too, just like we had the scriptures, knowing all of that, we can then say like, okay, let's just think about why we're thinking about this right now.
Yeah.
Because, I'll be honest, my anxiety comes in the fact that I've had a lot of loss in my life in terms of like losing people.
Yeah.
So my anxiety is always like, when somebody has the slightest something, I'm like, oh my gosh, you thinking the worst when, it might just be something stupid, So I really have to have conversations with myself in my mind, like, calm down, take a deep breath. This is not what it is. The enemy always wants to get you to a certain place where he can ride that wave in you thinking that whatever it is that you're thinking about is real and it's going to happen. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
John 16:22 says, so also you have sorrow now, but I will see you again, and your hearts will rejoice, and no one will take that joy from you. And so I believe that that was Jesus talking, and that's just truth, and that's a promise that regardless of what you're going through, regardless of what you're walking through in life, and I think of some of my friends that have elderly parents right now, and they're walking through a completely different time in their life. And I think about how sometimes it's hard to see past what you can see in the physical and find that joy, but we have to do that. We have to find joy in all things, or else you'll be walking around like sadness all the time, just moping, right? So I think we have to be conscious of those things. I was curious to see how other people felt about the movie, and so I pulled up my favorite thing on Reddit, and it didn't have a name on it, so I can't even refer to the name. But it said as a kid who had moved from a new town more than 466 miles away at the same age as Riley in the movie, it speaks directly to my soul. This movie shows exactly how it feels like going to somewhere new against your will, the turmoil of emotions you feel, and how traumatizing that kind of experience can be to someone so young. I'm not a person who usually cries when watching a movie, but if I hear the first notes of that soundtrack, I start sobbing instantly. I think, that sound is all over TikTok too. So everybody can resonate with that sound. And most importantly, that movie gives what, in my opinion, is one of the most important messages a child needs to hear, that sometimes things won't stay the way that you want them to be, but it's okay to be sad about it. You should definitely cry and feel sad. This way people will be more able to help you out. And besides that, you'll be able to understand better when someone you love is going through a hard time. I think that that's that's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
That it's okay to be sad. You know, so often we hear that, you know, like the negative things like anger. I mean, I know that there's a difference between like righteous anger and anger. I've exposed those things a lot, especially when I'm cleaning. I think I had released some anger downstairs with that stupid mop in the ceiling.
Yes. A little too much, but
But here, Joy came in fluttering in the room, and you said, Mommy, why don't you just take the handle off? And I thought, that was pretty genius. Here I am struggling to try to move the ceiling tile. You were like, oh! And it's one of those like cleaning buckets where you have like the water on one side and
the dry part where you can like,
where it like kind of wrings it out on the other side. It's a really great mop. But anyways, I'm like struggling because our basement ceilings are low. We don't have high ceilings down there. And I'm trying to clean the floor. And as I'm trying to clean the floor, like I'm trying to wring the thing out and it doesn't fit down there. And I'm like getting more and more mad. First of all, I'm getting more and more mad because I don't want to clean that area. And second of all, the stupid thing kept slapping the ceiling. And then in comes Gianna just, you know, I think she was trying to save me from making a hole in the ceiling. Yeah. And she's like
combusting. Jeez, the anger.
So I really did feel like that red guy where the heaping coals are just kind of like going and then the fire fumes out.
Yeah.
But you know, but again, sometimes you have to release those things, and in this case I took it out on the mop.
Yeah. Sometimes valid, sometimes not. I did want to ask you. Did you finish? Was that the end of it?
Yeah.
Okay. There was I saw on somebody's story where they kind of ranked their like all the emotions and how much of that emotion do you think you have? So, let's start with joy. How much joy do you think you have? 1 out of 10.
I would say 10.
Yeah.
I think I have a lot of joy. I love my life. I love the person that I am today.
Yeah.
Although it took her a long time to reveal herself, I do feel, I think it's also kind of where I'm at in life as a, 43-year-old woman.
Oh, you're not afraid to show your age.
No, I'm not, because I look good for my age, and I am not afraid or ashamed to say it.
Okay. I would say I have about a 9.
Okay.
About a 9 joy. Yeah. Okay, anger, go.
Why did you pick that second? I think that's a little rude.
I don't know.
10. No. I anger wells up in certain situations, and I can't say that I feel angry right now, but there's certain moments where I get angry.
Well,
so
that's how emotions work. So
okay, so I would say like a 4 or 5.
6. Let's say 6.
Why are you going to pick it for me? I think that's rude.
Because I think you're, it's not the best emotion to have. So you're kind of like 4 or 5. I would say a 6. I would give myself a 5. I'm like right in the middle.
Okay, why is that okay for you? Because you, my friend, have been cut from the same cloth, and you can get just as angry.
Well, yeah, but not as angry as you. Maybe as angry. I'll put myself at a 6 then. Okay, fear.
I've always said that and maybe it's just like something that's in me, but I don't have a lot of fear.
Okay.
3 or 4.
Okay. I would give myself like a 7. 7 fear.
Okay, that makes sense. You're young, so there's still a lot that you have to walk through in life.
Yeah.
Not to say that I'm done, but okay.
Okay, disgust. I would give you a 10.
Why?
Because, mommy, you have like the nose of a dog. Everything, it smells. Did you fart? It smells like someone pooed in here.
Okay. So yes,
Yeah.
smells bother me.
Yeah.
Smells bother me. I am very.
And the way things look. You just roasted me about my outfit 2 seconds ago. That's disgust.
No.
Yes.
I'm not disgusted by your outfit.
Disgust doesn't necessarily mean that you're disgusted by it. It's just like, ew, why are you wearing that?
No, disgusted for me is like a dirty floor.
Okay, so then you're a 10.
Okay.
You're a 10.
All right.
All right.
What about you?
I'm like a 7.
Okay.
Okay. Who's next? Sadness.
I mean, there was a time in my life where I felt like I was probably an 11, but I'm past that stage. So, a 2, 3.
Really? I would say overall of your life. Like, how is that emotion for you? Not like now. Like, overall, what would you give it?
I mean, overall, I would give it a 9 because.
Okay, so then that's valid. We're talking about overall. We're not talking about now. We're talking about overall.
But if I was to say right now, I do not feel that way.
Okay, good. I'm glad you don't feel that way, but that's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
So a 9?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say a 9 too. No. Yeah. I would say a 9 too. Embarrassment.
Seeing as though it kind of stinks because being a woman of Caucasian skin, whenever I'm embarrassed, it shows all over my face.
Because you're red?
Because I get instantly red.
Yeah.
And so
When was the last time you were embarrassed?
I think your dad embarrassed me like once.
When?
Not that long ago. I can't even remember what it was, but I even said it to him. I'm like, babe, that was a little embarrassing. Don't do that again.
Oh. Yeah.
I don't know how I can rate that. I've had some very embarrassing moments. I think I've told you, like,
You pooped your pants?
Gianna, no. Why do you keep bringing that up? Oh my gosh, I was like in 6th grade. Anyways, no. I was like in high school and I remember wearing like the cutest outfit to school and I was feeling myself. And I had like this black and white polka dot skirt on and I like fell up the stairs and like my underwear was exposed to like the masses behind me. And then for the rest of the day, they were like, hey, what's up, purple? Because my underwear was purple. So that was very embarrassing. And I remember exactly how I felt right now, even talking about it. And that's back in 25 years ago. So.
Dang. Glad I was in a small school with no stairs. Okay. Boredom. I don't ever remember feeling bored. Oh wait, we didn't rate embarrassment. I would give myself like a 7. No, 6. 6. I've been embarrassed enough to feel pretty.
Okay, what was your most embarrassing moment? I'd like to know.
That's a good question.
I can think of one that happened recently.
Oh, me falling and hurting my knee? It was more like I wanted to sue them.
But it was your pants that got stuck on the thing.
They had the table and the umbrella way too close.
I agree with that. But did you feel a bit embarrassed?
Of course I felt embarrassed.
Okay.
There was 2 girls behind me that were around my same age. I could feel their laughter from a mile away.
Honestly, though, I was watching them. They did not laugh.
Okay.
Because I would have turned around and I would have been kung fu fighting.
But well, it hurt, obviously, and
yeah.
and my leg was hurting all day yesterday.
Yeah.
So this is not funny. This is hurting. It was embarrassing for the moment, but it was more like, owie, I want to go to bed and cry.
Okay. What's the next one?
What, next motion?
Yeah.
Boredom.
My life is not boring. My life has never been boring.
I would give that one a 2.
Yeah, I would give that one like a 1.5. My life is not boring.
I don't think I've ever been bored. And when I'm bored, I eat. So,
Well, that's a whole different podcast.
Well, no, it's more like I don't. Well, yeah. But then when I eat, I'm not bored anymore.
Okay.
So,
Well, there's that.
yeah. What's the next one? Anxiety.
I think like it ebbs and flows. Definitely becoming a mom, your anxiety heightens. And then like as you guys got older and I don't have to like hover around you so that you don't like fall downstairs or something,
I feel like I should be doing that with you.
Wow, every podcast this is brought up. Every single podcast.
Well,
You and your dad find it convenient to mention my mishaps upstairs.
Scary.
Okay. Well, anxiety for me is like a 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Okay. I would give myself like an 8.
Okay. All right. Maybe I give myself like a 4 or 5, actually. I'm going to go halvesies.
Okay.
I'm going to go halvesies because I do think about things, especially when it comes to the future.
How do you think boppies would be?
For anxiety?
Well, just like in general, like what do you think his most emotion is? Would you say joy?
I would say joy.
And let's give 2. 2 of his highest. Joy and what
Anxiety.
other? Really? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the only reason why I say that, I'm not speaking anxiety over your life, babe. I'm just there, and I don't know that he thinks about things in the worst, but I think also anxiety is, there's like anxiety also is worry.
Yeah.
And we all have it, but the one thing that I appreciate about your dad, that whenever those things well up, your dad gets on his knees. And so I can appreciate that instead of like falling into the trap of the, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? I've got to be a fixer. I've got to do this. He's very good at saying, you know what? I'm going to pause this for a second and I'm going to go consult with God. So yeah, because I don't see your dad angry very often. I mean, he has his moments.
I'm going to hold my tongue.
And for those that are just listening, Gianna just made this face where she like clenched her lips together as though she didn't want to say anything.
Okay.
Well, what do you think your dads are?
Well, I would agree with you on those. Mm-hmm. But I think we can all agree that I get my anger from my father. He's a Puerto Rican man, and sometimes he gets a little hot-headed. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a fact. Okay. He's not here to defend himself, so I'm not going to say that, didn't come from me. It's from the stereotype of Puerto Rican people.
Oh, good Lord.
It is a very did you know that? It was a very popular stereotype that all Puerto Ricans are hot-headed.
Yeah, but they could say the same thing about Italians.
Yeah.
They could say the same thing about Germans.
Well, yeah.
Wow, so you got
I got all of
a
them.
hot mixture and all in 3.
Yeah.
What is that? Okay, I want to read one more thing.
Okay.
As I said before, all of Riley's emotions in the first movie serve as an important purpose. Does anxiety have a purpose? I would say probably not. Anxiety easily falls under the fear category, except the difference is fear is about something that is real. You can fear being in a car crash when you're driving, and that's a real threat. Anxiety is the fear of something that may not actually happen. If you wake up in the middle of the night thinking, what if I die in a car crash tomorrow? That's not fear, it's anxiety. When you get distressed because you can't decide what clothes to wear, when you can't let go of fear that your friends hate you in spite of lack of evidence, when you feel a primitive physical panic response in your body, such as a racing heart and increased breathing for no particular reason, that's anxiety. I have officially been diagnosed with anxiety disorder, and I don't think I need anxiety at all. Embarrassment, this is just disgust combined with fear. Helpful in a sense, but redundant. Ennui is a pretty obscure emotion. It means dissatisfaction and boredom with life. Not much different than depression and probably covered by sadness. We probably don't need this emotion. Envy, probably not needed either.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about envy. Oh, dang. I was wondering what emotion I forgot about. Envy. Anyways, continue.
Envy, probably not needed either. I would call this a combination of disgust and anger. Also, am I supposed to believe Riley has never experienced anxiety or other emotions before? She's 12. There's no way she hasn't felt anxiety before. This feels like a marketing decision to sell more goofy toys and not something that improves the world of movie.
That is a hot take. That is a hot take. I think that they did it perfectly.
I think they did a great job. And I think anyone is going to find anything to poke holes in the movie. Just like last week, we got into like an open discussion at the table, and there was not a lot of people that watched the movie. And, you know, somebody had mentioned that there was some, you know, homosexual thoughts in the movie.
Even though it didn't make any sense, it connected with the movie, so...
Well, and then they were like, well, that was Riley's deep, dark secret. But if anybody sat around and watched the bajillion credits until you got to it, they revealed what the deep, dark secret was. And what was it?
And it was that she burned a hole in the carpet.
And they thought that she peed in a pool or something. Yeah. So it
wasn't even anything like that deep.
I think they did that on purpose because people would have thought that, you know, based on the way movie 2 had kind of how everything transpired in Riley's life, especially like they, you know, there could have been an assumption that she had, you know, a crush on that one hockey player. I felt like
that was more like, because when Envy was talking, you know, Envy was like, oh my God, I want to be so much like her. Mm-hmm. Like there was a lot of like, oh, she has that red strike. Like it was more like admiration than it was, you know, having a crush on her. I didn't see the connection, but I can see how like
I could see how people could do that, but there was none.
No.
It was a typical teenage reaction to the realities of high school. Yeah. Because Riley was 11 or 12 in movie 1. Riley's now 13, 14 going into high school.
Yeah.
So movie 1 was her middle school age. And movie 2 is now
her transitioning
into high school and getting into that, you know, into that realm and being opened up to, you know, different emotions and mistrust and all that other stuff. Like there was a lot going on in that movie, and then her being able to come back to the realization of who she was just perfect.
Yeah. I think that, okay, well, let's go back because I forgot Envy. What would you rate Envy in your life?
Well, because I didn't see envy as like a negative thing in the movie. Like I like the word that you used, admiration. Mm-hmm. I do have a lot of admiration for people. Can we say envy is the same thing as jealousy? Yes.
Yeah.
That's like another word for jealousy. I think in my life, if we're talking about in the span of my whole life, I mean, I would say like a 6 or a 7. There was a lot of situations in my life where I felt like others were chosen before me or thought of before me or whatever. And that, you know, could create jealousy in a person.
Yeah.
You know, even in school, like people are picked for sports things before you or...
Oh, I hated that.
I mean, that's part of life.
I don't remember ever that happening to me, though, so...
You hated that, but you don't remember that
ever
happening to you.
Well, I hated the feeling. Like, oh, what if somebody doesn't pick me? Oh, what if I'm last? But it never happened.
See?
Yeah, it's because I had friends, though. It's not like I...
But that's anxiety, isn't it?
Yeah.
You thought about it, and it didn't really happen. What did you get picked first?
No, I was never picked first, but I was never picked last. Then again, I was in a small school. So it was like there was no
if you ask your dad that same question, he was traumatized because that happened to him. Poor guy.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling.
It's not. So what do you think the next one's going to be about? Like what emotions? I
hope they don't do anything else. I hope that it's done.
I would love to see like Riley in her like ending her high school years, going into college. And I would love to see emotions like love, that she like falls in love with somebody or crushes on somebody or, because that's a true emotion when you find someone and you
Right.
just don't want me to go there, right? You're just set on it being done and over with.
I'm good with this was a great movie. We don't need to make any more. We don't need a sequel. We don't
Do
need
you
a
feel the
prequel.
same way about like other movies that do that continue to just keep making?
Yeah, like the Avengers. Stop. We don't need any more. We're good.
But there's a lot of like characters that have yet to reveal
okay.
themselves.
Cool. Let the comics be the comics. We don't need any more. After Endgame, I was good. I'm good. I don't need any more.
Okay, so what is one movie that you would say I would like to see this one have like a sequel?
Coraline.
Okay. I like Coraline. I would like to see that, but how?
Exactly. Not my job. I just want to see the movie.
What do you think about Beetlejuice?
I'm not excited for it.
How dare you?
I'm being completely honest. I fell asleep watching the movie.
Okay. Well,
listen, I love Tim Burton. I love all his work. He is my favorite ever in the entire world. But Beetlejuice, I could go without a second.
Well, Beetlejuice was my childhood. Yeah. So to see some of that like resurrected, I'd like to see what that looks like. Especially since, some main characters are
Winona
back
Ryder.
in the movie. Yeah. I'm like really looking forward to
I
that.
love her, so I'm going to watch the movie. But
It's funny because Maddie and I, when we were on our vacation, we're like, oh, yes, we can't wait to see it. And Jordan was like, ew, that movie's gross. I'm not going to watch that movie.
Why is it gross?
I don't know. Because she didn't like watch it.
So
as a kid.
that's the movie it's already coming out, so you have to pick a new. You have to.
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm excited about it.
Okay, so what would you pick to like?
To like do a remake?
Yeah, well, not a remake, but like a second part to it.
I never really thought about that.
Like, is there a movie that you were like, ooh, it's good. Why did it end like this?
Yes. But I can't think about it right now.
Cool. All right, well, I don't really know what else to talk about.
Well, we would like to hear from you. Like, for especially those that have watched Inside Out, what is your take on it? We want to hear. We want to hear your, did you like it? Did you not like it? And in the words of Gianna, do you think they should just stop? What other emotions can we talk about? But thank you for joining us. And we hope that if you have not watched it, watch Inside Out 1. Where do you watch it at?
You can watch it on Prime, or I think it's on Disney Plus. I think the second one's going to be on Disney Plus too. So
yeah, so if you have Disney Plus or if you have Prime, you can watch Inside Out 1. Watch that before you go and watch Inside Out 2. I think it's a great movie. Disney really does a great job. Pixar does a really great job at creating good movies to put you in a feel-good place, but also really make you think. And so thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you on episode 19.